I think the people that do the work are getting tired of the people that don't do the work telling us how to do the work. You know, in the small business world that I'm from, it's such a demanding environment that we operate in right now. It's 10 to 12 hours a day, 6 days a week, sometimes seven. And those voices aren't heard. But they're out there, they're contributing to the economy, they're contributing to our communities. They're working hard, doing the best they can. And that's really, I felt like the people that are working for a living, grinding it out week to week, are getting tired of just getting by. You know, people want to get ahead, and they should be able to get ahead if they work hard and they're willing to sacrifice to get there. And it's become so difficult for folks to just make a living that it's impacting our society, you know, as a whole. The anxiety level, the stress level's gone up. Life is more complicated today, and I think it's taken its toll. I just thought it was a great model to go into government and improve the customer service or the constituent service, if you will, lower cost, you know, to become more frugal and reward people for finding more efficient ways to operate. And that would lower our overall cost of our own burden, if you will, for the Maine people, so they can hang on more of their money and just live a simpler life and lifestyle. The reason I ran in 10 is very simple. I saw what happened with the financial collapse. Okay, and again, I'm a small business guy, and I look at the SEC, the FTC, the FDA, all these government groups that are supposed to be our check and balance, our overseers, okay, of the corporate or greed in general or misbehavior. And basically, they approve these bank mergers, you know, these financial institutions extending themselves into the beyond just the banking. They get into the finances and investments. So all of this happened on our government's watch. And then when the wheels fell off, they looked to the small business community and the middle class to pay for it. So we could have redistributed a lot of wealth in this country right then and there the right way by letting the good, honest operators and organizations take those bad assets at discounted rates and prices. Americans could have bought homes, right? Reasonable. And it would have kind of reset that greed that was kind of running unchecked. Say, I distill this down after having participated in the political system and running for higher office here in the state of Maine. When I look at the national picture, and even here in the state of Maine to a degree, it's not Republican and Democrat. It's you're either on the inside or you're on the outside. We were at the Strand Theater up in Rockland to expand on that, and they had a gubernatorial forum, and there was probably 300 people there, 250, good turnout. And they were talking about, we were going to talk about the climate change and the fisheries and the wind power and all these things, all the hot topics. So there was a point in the discussion, I said, look, with a show of hands, how many in this room are actively fishing or engaged directly in the fishing industry? Maybe 10, 12 hands went up, to your point, out of 300. So these are all, interest groups, obviously interested parties or individuals that came to this forum to learn about the stances of the particular candidates. The industry wasn't really represented. It's not representative of the people doing the work. Mm-hmm. It's just recognizing that the time constraints and demands on people out there working for a living are extraordinary right now. So if they're going to pick, I got to take care of my family, I got to make a living, and I got to do this. Can I get involved with something as gigantic as climate change movement, whatever it may be? Quick answer is that they're not going to. And that's unfortunate. But I really, truly believe that between the amount of time, the amount of money, amount of food, pick whatever you want, that we waste as a society, Americans especially, if we focused on that, and in addition to that, reducing pollution. You get the picture of this trout here. My uncle was Stu DeRoche, and he and Dick Anderson canoed down, I think it was the Androscoggin River, back in the 70s, doing water samples, observations about affluent coming in directly into the river. The river was filled with mercury. The fish were contaminated. DDTs were being emitted and released into our watershed, affecting our bald eels. So you think about where Maine was back in the 70s and where we are today, but it was focused around pollution and waste. Everybody understood that, and everybody championed changing the rules and regulations and holding big factories, big companies accountable for their discharge. So I think understanding, how to message and getting back to the grassroots movement that we had back in the 70s and 80s and 90s come a long way. But that stopped, I think, when we got away from how do we reduce waste? We were in the auto recycling business back in the 90s, and we got the highest coveted award from the American Recyclers Association called the Gold Seal Award. And that was for environmental and operational excellence. We were one of 6 recyclers in the whole country to receive that. That's back in the mid-90s. We were recycling Freon. The mercury switches, we were pulling the mercury switches out of vehicles back then, so you properly disposed of. Recycling antifreeze, gas, all liquids, within a vehicle. Selling parts that obviously was a huge reduction in manufacturing. If we are selling parts to keep vehicles together on the road, and these are late model, not old junkers. I mean, these are like current year vehicles, cars, so we don't have to produce another one. Think of the carbon offset there. So we were getting money out of our waste streams. We were 25 years ahead of our time, and that was when recycling wasn't cool with anybody. You say recycling, like, well, what's that? What are you talking about? So we've got a long history of environmental stewardship and trailblazing, if you will, during our business career. We're very proud of that. Let's get a hold of your legislative leadership and say we need to negotiate better, right, human rights, labor laws, and environmental conditions and regulations overseas. And you don't have to give them the devil for allowing that to all happen, but it did. We're talking about now. The second thing I think is equally crucial is, and you folks would probably be the perfect, group to do it. I talked about as governor, had I become elected governor, to immediately implement a voluntary program. Okay, it was similar to kind of like Baldacci had back in '08. That's where I met Jim Wellahan, Adam Lee, Wick Johnson. We all came together, municipalities, state government, nonprofits, and businesses. Just like you said, John, we don't need silos in this conversation. We need everybody, all hands on deck. This fair that you're talking about, I would expand that to include all of those contingencies. And you lay out every innovative, energy efficient design, equipment, technology. You make that the event to be at. And I'd be happy to participate, happy to help you assemble and bring that together, because we had it going. We did a voluntary, in conjunction with the DEP, created a voluntary carbon assessment, and we set our own goals. And I think Moody's committed to a 30% decrease in our carbon footprint. I think it was over like a 4-year period. We exceeded it in 2. It's fun. And the thing that people need to understand is by saving energy, you're not only saving money, but you're really, the residual byproduct of all that is you're reducing emissions and pollution, and you're reducing waste. But you know how much of a champion I am of blue-collar jobs, trades jobs. I'm a master craftsman, and I'm proud of it. And I've been in higher education, but we have had that narrative the last 20 years that you got to go to college, you're not going to amount to anything. So half of our students haven't gone to college. How do you think they felt when they got their diploma? That they'd let the teachers down, like I did. I worship my teachers. I don't want to let them down. So they felt they let the teachers down. They probably let the parents or guardian or whoever's at home down. Maybe let some of their friends down. So what a way to kind of jettison a young person out into the world of the American dream. So I feel strongly that this generation is going to connect the dots. They haven't done it yet. There's a lot of Bernie supporters out there, and they really believe, because he's singing the song, and he's right. The system's rigged. That's his mantra, and he's right. The system is rigged. Now, who's rigged it? And who is rigging it? That's what the young people have got to sort out and figure out on their own, and they will. Over the next 10 years, you're going to see, I think, a movement in this country like we've never seen, because they're coming out of college in debt up to their eyeballs, tough to find a job, and it's all because of the balance. Instead of promoting the trades as an equal opportunity, occupational equality, it was go to college or bust. Well, we've got way too many administrators, inspectors, engineers. Not engineers, a shortage in Maine, but there's a lot of people that can observe, design, and inspect the work. Where are the people going to do the work? We didn't celebrate them and reward them in the same manner. Yeah. So consequently, we've got this huge imbalance now. Look at the budgets on construction projects coming in 30, 40, 50% higher. Why? We did it to ourselves. We stopped celebrating the trades. Back to like the grandchildren, because this is the way I believe. I believe that we have an obligation and a responsibility to provide a robust economy and a robust society here and an ecosystem here in Maine, so that those grandchildren, the last thing they'd want to do is leave. Right now, we've got an environment where it's the first thing they want to do. That's why I ran for governor. Yeah. I said when I let off at one of my graduation spiels, I spoke at Lewiston's high school's graduation year which is really cool. They talk about diversity up there and just an exciting community. I said to them, our generation could go down in history as the worst generation of the 20th century. And I said, and I'm not talking about individuals, but collectively, I said, your generation has the potential to be the greatest generation of the 21st century. And I believe that in the bottom of my heart.